of all, I'm a homemaker, so I spend my week at home, that noble profession that many of us do. I had a heart failure 18 months ago, and as a result of that I'm not able to hold down a job, and I need to rest several times a day. And on a good week, the floors get cleaned, and the kitchen floor got cleaned yesterday. As well as that, another thing that I do is I make a point of connecting with people face to face. It's one thing to send messages and ring and so on, but I always make a point of making sure during the week at some stage that I'm connecting with people face to face. And the third thing is I'm still able to drive, and I love to get out and drive from A to B, and I'm very grateful for that. Well, the first one sitting over here, my wife Carol. We've been married nearly 38 years. Carol and the family. When we got married, we were madly in love. But when I look back, we were just really scratching the surface in a way. We were madly in love, but in comparison with where we're at now, we've been through some, lots of really interesting and some really difficult experiences, and it's just wonderful that God brought us together. The second thing is I'm really passionate about our God. We just sang, "My hope is built on nothing less." I don't like that word hope. My certainty is built on nothing less. And I love the way that God connects with me and I'm able to connect with him. That interplay with the Word and the Spirit working together, making it all happen. I notice that he often does his best work in a crisis. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. And he comes up with solutions that we wouldn't even dream of. And I reckon that I depend a lot more on prayer than I used to. And prayer for me involves a lot of listening. I used to be eloquent at praying out loud. And people told me that, and I used to lead prayer meetings and I lead groups of people in prayer. That's gone by the board now, but I spend a lot more time listening to God. And the third thing, I'm so grateful for this, is I love people. Don't you just love people? When I was getting towards the end of my working time, I know I was getting jaded and my love for people was getting tarnished. But just in the last couple of months, I've noticed how God is restoring that love of people, and I'm so grateful. Well, I don't. He's already there, long before I get there. But he guides me with his agenda. And so when I get up in the morning, I might have certain things I want to do in the day, but I have to stop and rest 3 or 4 times a day. And so sometimes the things that are on my agenda just don't happen. And so I feel like God cancels those things. Or I'm going to go and see someone, but they're not around. And that door is closed. But then he'll bring other people across my path, or other things that I can do. My agenda would often end up being a cause of anxiety, but God's agenda is a cause of peace, and I really value that. We now live in a retirement village, and in that village we started a Bible study group. Now, all we did was organise a meeting to discuss how we were going to do it, and a dozen people, very enthusiastic people, turned up. And we relished the opportunity to get together and study God's Word. That's really great. There's a little group of people who get together once a month for a church service. And for some of those people, they never get to church except for this service. And so we can contribute in that way. And with those people in both the Bible study group and in the church group, they're slightly different groups, there are plenty of needs, and I like to be able to help out in some ways as I can. But that is a matter of going to God's agenda, because I often think, oh, it'd be good to do this, it'd be good to do that, and I can't. So I just wait and see what God enables me to do. Well, people who know these things tell me that I'm an encourager. And I really like that. I find that satisfying because God is my greatest encouragement. There are two things that I can do. First of all, I find that people are encouraged by being listened to and taken seriously and not dismissed. That's how it is for me. So I try to get in touch with the feelings of the other person by listening to them and experiencing that, and then think about what I could do which would encourage them in that particular place. And the other thing is, I find that being vulnerable and sharing something of myself and something of God and how He is in that particular issue is often an encouragement to people. But I find that the sharing of myself and my story is less important these days than I used to find it. There was a couple moved into the village just last week, and it was our job to be their buddy and help them settle in and answer any questions that they had and so on. And we have moved house 16 times, and we know what it's like to move house. So, the first day, absolute chaos. After a couple of days, still there was a lot of chaos, but we just kept in touch and answered a couple of questions and tried to be friendly, tried to make fun of the cardboard boxes and all that mess that piles up when you move house, and then leave them in peace and let them get on. So that's just something that I do. Well, I think of two things. I need a lot of patience because I don't do anything quickly anymore. And so things take time and I need to pace myself really well. Many of you know what this is like. Pace myself well and not fill my day up with things that I'd like to do, but rather fill my day up with things that are important. And be patient with other people too. As I'm listening to them, as I'm waiting for them, etc. So patience is the first one. And the second one's perseverance. To be able to do the best that I can, I work at keeping myself as fit as I can. And I've never been a particularly avid sports person, but if I can swim, I swim every second day and I walk on the other day. I've got to persevere and keep as fit as I can. So they're the two things.
I'd just like to affirm Keith as well. I've known Keith for quite a while now and we've become good friends. And I was thinking this morning about that verse from Ecclesiastes, which tells us there, for everything, there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. Much of our lives is a great mystery. And I've struggled with some of the struggles that Keith has had in recent times, and they've challenged me. But all through those challenges, Keith has endured with great faith and perseverance. And he's been a great encourager to me in the midst of his own suffering. And I want to thank him for that. I also want to just affirm your great love for people, because I've seen that. I remember when, not long after your heart attack, and you were contemplating moving and you were obliged to move home, you said to me, the most important thing I need to do is to care for Carol. And that was, that had great meaning for me personally. It touched me very deeply because it wasn't about you, it was about your loved ones that you had your greatest concern. So thank you so much for that. Let's pray.